Hi, this is Alban from Northan Viking Silver, and I want to talk to you today about some of the designs I make and where the motifs come from. This is the weapon dancer. It's an archaeologist's term for this dancing figure holding weapons, in particular with a horned headdress and bird's head terminals on the horns. Now, there are a lot of these figures found from pre-Viking age and from the Viking age in different forms, and I'd like to show you some. If you bring the camera in, let's start off with a really early piece. This is a golden horn from Galahus in Denmark, 5th century. Here you can see pre-Viking, but still horned figure bearing staves. And then let's get some more pictures. Here's a classic find from Sutton Hoo in England, helmet plate showing horned figures bearing weapons with horned helmets or headdress with bird's head terminals. It looks like they're dancing. It's some kind of ritual. Again, another example of it, very similar, but this time from Sweden, from Valsgard. And over here, back to England, a golden buckle from the early Anglo-Saxon period from Kent. Again, look at that figure, bearing weapons, 2 spears and a horned headdress. But it's not just found in metalwork. Let's look here. The tapestry from Oseberg shows a lot of figures, some kind of ritual taking place. This is one of the figures. I don't know if you can make that out, but again, it has a horned headdress and it's bearing weapons or staves. Here's another figure from the Oseberg tapestry, horned headdress, bearing a weapon. And it's found in other forms too, it's just figures on their own. This interesting find is from Birka, from a woman's grave. And here's another Swedish find from Eckerhammer. Now, the question, which tantalizes us of course, is what do these figures mean? The easiest conclusion to jump to, and I think there's evidence for it, is it is either the god Odin or it's a warrior cult connected to the god Odin. Some of these figures have 2 eyes, some of them have 1, but the presence of birds' heads, 2 birds' heads, hints at the ravens, Hugin and Munin. Often a spear is present in the figure, and some of the figures have the eye struck, actually struck with a tool after they're made. You can see it here on this one. 2 similar masks, one from Ribe in Denmark, one from the other side of the world, Staraj Ladoga in Russia. The archaeologists tell us that this figure has the eye struck with a tool. Can't see it on this photo, but we'll have to take their word for it. There's another one of these, look. This is a close-up of the helmet plate from Torslunda in Sweden. This figure can clearly see has 1 eye different from the other, and often, as typical, is connected with another figure with a wolf's head, which again connects it with a cult of Odin. Now, I love these figures on their own just for the way they look. But what they could mean is also fascinating, and there is some evidence that connects this weapon dance or ritual to Yuletide or a midwinter festival or Christmas. There was an emperor, Constantine Porphyrogenitos, from the 10th century, and he gives a description of a dance performed for him at midwinter by his Varangian guard, which was made up of Scandinavians or other Germanic people. He describes how groups of men from his guard came into his hall, dressed in animal skins, bearing staves, which they banged against each other in a ritual formation, all the time calling out Yule, 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 which has this midwinter Yuletide connection. More interestingly, or as interesting, there are a lot of medieval laws surviving prohibiting people from wearing animal skins for midwinter festivities. Quite often these animal skins are either deer antlers or horned bulls. And Another fascinating connection with an ancient ritual and our modern day midwinter is at a tiny village in England called Abbots Bromley. There's still a folk dance performed every midwinter involving stags' antlers held on poles. Held on poles nowadays, but there's an account of this dance from the 18th century that says the wearers wore these stags' antlers on their heads. Now these antlers in Abbots Bromley are reindeer antlers, not a native species from Britain, and someone has done a carbon dating on these antlers, the ones that they're using, and they carbon date to the 11th century, which shows how old this ritual could be. So I think there's a strong argument for this ancient Odinic warrior ritual to be connected to Yuletide. And bearing all this in mind, I've made some pieces of jewellery using this motif. So you've already seen the weapon dancer, which I have based on the Torslunda helmet plate, or helmet patrice, I should say. I've made mine clearly with one eye. I've also made a figurine from the find from Birka, a tiny figure with a sword in one hand and a stave in the other, also with one eye. And then my particular favourite, based on the masks from Reba and Staraj Ladaga. On the back is a runic inscription in Old Norse, Odin Viki, which means Odin bless.